Welcome to GB Culture DIY. So today we'll be learning how to make or draft a long skirt with a front slit, and we'll be having a little skirt manipulation too. So guys, if you really want to learn this, watch this video to the end, and please, if you have not subscribed, do subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Please, if you find this video very interesting, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, like, share with your friends, with your loved ones. So thank you guys. Let's get started. So for us to start, I have folded my pattern paper into two, as you can see, and I'm going to mark a starting point line at the top of my pattern paper. This will serve as a starting point for me, and from there I'm going to take my hip depth line and I'm going to mark. My hip depth line is where I will input my hip line, 1/4 of my hip measurement, and I'm going to mark my hip nail line where I'm going to put my nail circumference. So I'll mark my nail line, and I'll also mark the length of the skirt plus my sewing or hemming allowance. So having done that, from the waist, or from this point, which is the waistline, I'm going to mark my dart of 3.5 inches, and I'm going to take 1/2 inch at both sides of the dart, 1/2 inch at both sides of the dart, and I'm also going to take 1/4 of my waist measurement, which is 6.7, and I'm going to add 1 inch for the dart. And at my hip measurement, please take note here, I'm going to take 1/4 of my hip measurement minus 1 inch. My hip measurement is 36, divided by 4 is 9 inches. Instead of marking 9 inches, I'm going to mark 8 inches. And that 1 inch that is remaining, I'm going to add it to the back of the skirt pattern. So that's the skirt manipulation that we're having here. So from the new line, I'm going to subtract 1 inch from the 8 inches that I already have, making it 7 inches. So I have 8 inches at the hip line, and I have 7 inches at the new line, and I'm also going to mark 7 inches at the length of the skirt here, and I'm going to be connecting all this line. So I'll just come down from the new line, from the hip line, 1 inch, and from there I'm going to mark a slant line from the new line, from the hip line to the nail line, and from the nail line to the length of the skirt, I'm going to mark a straight line. Did you see what I'm doing? So from the hip line, I'm going to connect is just with a straight line like so. And for the waist, at the side seam of the waist, I'm going to come up by 1/2 inch. From the side seam, I'm going to come up by 1/2 inch, and from the center front, I'm going to come down by 1 inch, so that this will allow our waistline to fit in, because the human waist is not straight. So I'm going to connect with a line like this, and with a curve ruler, if you have your hip curve or any curve ruler that you have, I'm going to connect from that 1/2 inch upwards to the waist to the hip line. So as you can see, I'm done with that. So I'm going to just mark my darts, and I already added 1 inch for the dart. Always remember to add your 1 inch for your dart. It's very, very important. So I'm going to connect my dart just like I'm doing now. So I haven't done that. Trying to connect my dart. So from this point, I'm going to mark my dart line, my dart, which is 3.5, and I'm going to mark it throughout the skirt, and I'll make a straight line on it. The dart line is going to be where our slit is going to be. So at the dart line is where the slit is going to be. So that's why I marked my dart 3.5. You can decide not to use your darts, but for the purpose of this tutorial, we'll be making use of our dart line, and that's the best way you can, the best place to put your dart. So I'm trying to use my tracing wheel to trace this pattern to the other side of the pattern paper. So I'm using my tracing wheel to trace this to the other part of the pattern paper, because this pattern paper is on fold. So that's what I'm doing here. Did you see it? So having done that, I'm going to add my seam allowance or sewing allowance of 1 inch at the side seam, and I'm going to add ½ inch at the waistline. So add ½ inch at the side seam, 1 inch at the side seam, and ½ inch at the waistline. You can use up to 1.5 or 2 inches depending on the sewing allowance that you prefer to make use of. And as you can see, I'm done adding the seam allowance to the waist and to the side. So I'll be cutting this pattern paper out, and for me to cut, I'm going to fold in my dart leg before cutting it. And when I fold in my dart leg, I'm going to retrace all the lines. So I'll be cutting this out. So when I'm done cutting, this is what I have. And as you can see the waistline. Very nice. So this is what I have. So that when you sew your darts, you have a very nice shape at your waistline, which will fit your waist perfectly well. So I'll be cutting out this line, this dart line. I'll be cutting it out. That's where the slit is going to be. The slit is not at the center, it's going to be at the side. And I prefer using the dart line as a guide for making my slit. And as you can see, I'm done cutting this out. So go over to the back part, so you can see it's actually very simple. And for the skirt manipulation, we'll be doing it here. So for the back part, I've added my waistline, hip line, knee line, and the length of the skirt. So what I will do, remember I removed 1 inch from the hip line of the front. So what I will do, I will mark my dart line, and I'll mark 1/2 inch at both sides of the dart line, and I'm also going to mark 1/4 of my waist measurement, and I'm adding 1 inch for the dart. So from here I'm going to add 1/4 of my hip measurement, which is 9 inches. Remember in the front we marked 8 inches, so 9 inches. That 1 inch that I removed from the front, I'm going to add it at the back here. This back here is not the zipper allowance. I've not added zipper allowance to this place. So from there I'm going to connect from that 1 inch to the waistline with a curve. I'm going to connect. So that 1 inch that I removed from the front, I added to the back, and as you can see, I have made a curve. This method will give you a perfect fit, and it's usually good for people that have big backside. It will make it to fit perfectly well. So I removed 1 inch from the front and added it to the back, because we are curvy at the back and not at the front. So I have also marked my connected my waistline. So for the knee liner, I came inward by 1 inch from the knee line. So I'm going to mark 7 inches. You know I marked 7 inches for the front, so I'm going to mark 7 inches. Did you see what I did? I came inward by 1 inch before marking my 7 inches. The reason why I did so is to eliminate excess or excesses at the back part of this skirt. So this is what I did. So it's actually very easy and simple to make. So I just came down again by 1 inch, and I'll also be connecting this. So this is very easy and simple to make. Did you see that? And note at so I'm still going to come inward by 1 inch too at the length of the skirt and mark my 7 inches. So I'm still going to connect like so. So it's very easy to make. So you can see the shape that it gave us. This is the best and the perfect way of making your skirt. And as you can see, at the waistline of the back, I still came upward by 1/2 inch from the side seam. I do not come downward by 1/2 inch, please. Just take note of that. And I've added all my necessary sewing allowance. Please, if you're enjoying this video, please give this video a big thumbs up. So I'm trying to just close up this place to remark here. So you can see it's very easy, and I will be cutting this out. I'll be cutting this out. So as you can see, I'm done cutting it, and as you can see, it have that shape. So you'll be adding your zipper allowance now. While cutting on your fabric, add your zipper allowance of 1 inch or 1.5 inches as you desire. So for this part, you'll be adding 1/2 inch or 1 inch for your joining, and remember you're going to leave the slit open in here, probably from 2 to 3 inches above the nail is where your slit will start from. So anyhow you want your slit to start from, you can just do it. So you'll be adding your half-inch sewing allowance at both sides. So thank you guys, you have come to the end of this class, and if you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Invite your friends to also subscribe. Share this video with your friends and loved ones. See you in my next video. Take care of yourself. Have a nice day, nice weekend, everything. Bye bye.